Hey everybody, welcome to American Idol Unaired. I am your host, Bennett Shear. Today we are talking to another singer that you didn't see on season 20 of American Idol. Please welcome Danny Czerkawski.
Thanks so much for having me, Bennett. I appreciate it. It's been fun to watch all the episodes and kind of hear all the different experiences. So I appreciate you letting me be a part of this.
Oh, of course, man. I'm so excited to meet you. We had a chance to talk a little before this, and yeah, just hearing all the different perspectives of the American Idol contestants. Such a large, diverse pool of talent that, of course, we didn't get to see everybody, but just the idea that we've got people coming from all walks of life, whether it's your job or where you come from. It really must be a fascinating experience for you to just be in that sea of just people from everywhere that you can think of, I imagine.
I think that from the whole experience and kind of putting my name in the hat, that's probably the biggest takeaway, the people you meet. And I'm sure you probably heard that from all the different people that you've kind of connected with who's told their story. But I got lucky to meet just such awesome people. We're all kind of embarking on something that's completely new. But the cool thing is that we all share, this love for music and talent for music. So I think that really was the coolest thing. You're meeting all these different talented, all these different age groups too. I myself was one of the older ones who auditioned. I was 28. Pretty much I think the last opportunity for, I guess that's the age. I think that's the age limit, 28.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm hanging out with people that are 16, maybe even 15 years old with their parents. All the way from their early 20s to late 20s like me. And the coolest thing was just like, not only were they crazy talented, everybody had their own certain thing, but like just the different personalities. Like everyone was just so happy to be there and just realize this is a cool opportunity. And I was like, oh my God, like, isn't this crazy? Yeah, this is wild, huh? So it was cool. Like, no, I didn't feel like there was like any egos. You had your people who were very like excited and passionate to sing, and they might have been singing right when they got there. But I think that was the coolest thing. Like, it didn't feel like there was any egos. Everyone was like really rooting for everybody, and it became kind of a cool journey, especially for like the first weekend when you're there, and for the ones that kind of make it through, it's you got your little like kind of pact or subculture group, your little group that you hang out with, and everyone just could not have been more just supportive and good people, to be honest.
That is wild too when you talk about the age thing, because you got to imagine that everybody has a very vast knowledge of music, and so you could be 28, somebody else could be 16, and of course, someone younger might be listening to the radio more of the pop stuff. But even once they take that stage, you're hearing them sing, and sometimes just somebody's voice sounds so much older than they may actually be, and getting to be around all that music from people who may have less performing experience and yet have been exposed already to so much of the music that you know and love.
Yeah, that's a great point. Even like the age gap or whatnot, like there were some people who probably had more professional like experience than I had, and I might have been like one of the older people there. I remember there was one person in particular I couldn't get over. Her name was it Paige Fish,
Yes.
who you had on the show, I think, like a few weeks ago. I think she was like 14 or 15 years old. She might have just turned 15, and her and her mom were there, like one of the first people that I met, and she was such a sweetheart and so kind. Her mom was great, and we were just kind of talking, and I was so blown away with how much experience that she had, and I'm kind of sitting there being like, whoa, like that's awesome. She was openly performing, but writing songs, and it was just really cool because then I got to hear her sing. I was like, oh my gosh, she's absolutely unbelievable. And it kind of, in a way, like it inspired, not just her alone, but like everybody kind of inspired everybody. At least that's how I felt. Like I didn't feel, again, like any egos or anything like that. I was just like, how cool is it to be surrounded by all these different talented individuals? And you really did feel that kind of energy throughout.
I remember when I interviewed Paige, she said that this sort of motto or slogan she came up with on American Idol when she was on set was like, expect nothing and appreciate everything. And I remember being like, I'm gonna write that down because it was such a wise thing just to think about in life in general. Expect nothing and appreciate everything that comes your way.
Yeah, that's actually a great line. I think I might write that down too.
See, I'm happy that it's going around everywhere.
No, it's cool though. I mean, I think that is everything. I mean, I don't think anybody really went down there. I mean, unless people went down there and they knew that they were going to get through, or they have that kind of drive, right? I think the majority of us all have that drive, but like, yeah, you got to go down, especially in that scenario. It's like, hey, as long as I'm prepared and as long as I feel like I'm ready to do this, like, it's up to the judges. It's up to everybody else. Like, there's only so much you can control, and to be grateful is definitely like the biggest thing. Which that was definitely my thing. I was like, I'm just so happy to be here. Like, we'll see where this goes. So I was lucky to be given an opportunity. I was one of the lucky ones to kind of get through. So
I'm so excited to learn more about you, and maybe if you want to tell us who you are, where you come from, what you do for a living. I'd love to get the full story that we didn't get to see on American Idol.
I am from Boston, Massachusetts. I grew up in a little seaside town in Cohasset. Currently live in Quincy, which is just like an outer borough. But, my musical journey is kind of interesting. I grew up with my mom, who was a jazz singer, and my grandfather, who was a professional musician, jazz writer, composer, multi-talented musician. And I always kind of had that bug in me at a young age, but I was always very timid to kind of follow it. And it wasn't until maybe like high school, and I think my friends kind of knew that I could sing, but I didn't really, kind of do it. I remember meeting someone from Berkeley, like a friend of a friend, and we were hanging out one evening, and he brought his guitar, and we were singing songs. And it was the first moment that of meeting someone my own age, like a freshman in high school or a sophomore in high school, and just being so inspired and almost as if it's okay to do this. Like it's, it was just, I thought it was so cool. That opened up an opportunity for me in like my senior year to sing an open mic with like, with a full band. And I don't think anybody really knew that I could sing. And I decided to kind of step out of my comfort zone and go for it. And that was really kind of like the first moment that my parents really saw me sing for the first time. My grandfather was there, and that was really special. After that, though, it's been sort of a long journey. I was a Division I athlete for a couple of years in college, so my journey was really much focused on sports. It wasn't until like my senior year again in college that I kind of knew that my time with lacrosse would, that's what I was playing. I was playing lacrosse in college, and my time with lacrosse was going to come to an end. And I felt like I needed to kind of pursue something, or at least, find another passion and kind of embark on something. And I bought a guitar with little to no money, the money that I had in my account. And I went to this little music store, and I bought a guitar. My friend had a ukulele, and I just picked it up and kind of was lucky enough to learn through YouTube. And at least all my teammates on the bus, or like when we would travel, they knew that I could sing, and we would do like singing competitions and stuff. So that was kind of always a fun thing. But it wasn't until like, that moment of buying a guitar and graduating that I really wanted to kind of follow it more. And, fast forward like a few years, I started kind of posting more videos of me singing like little snippets on social media. And, a friend of mine connected with me. I got basically reached out to by a band. They were looking for a singer, and it kind of hit at the right time because I was so ready to kind of at least follow it and learn, because I felt like I was still so behind. And, I ended up joining this band. We were called Down East, and we were basically like a kind of a rock, like an alt or like 90s rock kind of style. And, from there, we did it for a couple years. They had a bunch of songs that they've at least written, and then they kind of wanted like for myself to kind of interpret. So that was kind of a wild experience to just like do. And we had like maybe 2 shows, recorded a few things, and all of a sudden COVID happened. So that like the world just ended up stopping, right? after that, it was really kind of difficult. My big kind of inspiration of why I kind of turned to Idol was um, COVID hit. I just started kind of getting into it, but I still had a lot more to kind of search for. I was actually engaged for about a year, and that unfortunately was another thing that kind of came to an end, which was really probably one of the hardest things I've ever had to go through. And that for me really kind of slingshotted me to kind of push and say, hey, okay, this thing just happened. I was going through a lot of just difficulties, and this idea of like, okay, well, now I need to invest in myself. What do I want to do? The road that I thought, the encouragement that I thought I had from my significant other isn't there anymore, and I got to pick myself up. And after that, that was probably around this time last year when I was probably in like one of the lowest points in my life. And I moved back home to Boston. I was living somewhere else at the time, and this idea one evening of trying out for American Idol kind of came up randomly, and I was just looking online, and I realized that, hey, there's still a lot for me to kind of learn and still grow, but might as well give it a shot. I feel like I could, might bring up some cool opportunities. Who knows where it will go? So I thought nothing of it. I submitted my application online, and I kind of thought that I filled it out and said I was going to come back to it next week. Well, the funny enough is I get an email, and an email that I never use, and it was said your audition is set. And I remember sitting at the same desk, and I realized to myself, I'm like, oh, I guess it's happening. Shit. Okay, I guess we're doing this. So that was a real, just a moment to hold on to. I was in a really, really low point in my life, and I was like, all right, well, at least I got this to kind of, prepare for and just try. You can't help it. Just give it a shot. And, my audition from there, I was doing a little solo vacation, a little soul search. And that was when I did my audition, my first audition online. I was remote. I was in Colorado at the time in a hotel. And, I was able to sign on, and I'm telling you the long version of the story, but I signed on, and I felt like I had a really good song. I sang this kind of soulful song that's called Colors by the Black Pumas. It's like a rock soul song. And I felt like I had a really good, song choice, at least to kind of showcase my skills. It was a newer song. I didn't think a lot of people would sing it. But I think leading up to that, I had a little bit of anxiety. I was like, I know I got a decent voice, but I don't know if my guitar skills are good enough. But we'll give it a shot. Hopefully, I know enough songs that I can play, and I at least can do this. And lucky enough, I was able to sing that song. I forget the producer's name, but she was like, "Great song choice. You're only the second person in Idol history to sing that song. We don't really hear that ever." And I thought that was really positive. They brought me, the executive producers. I sang one more song or two more songs, a song that I wrote, an original that I wrote that I haven't really played for anybody, and then I sang an Alan Stone song. But to kind of sum it up, I was in a really low point in my life, and I felt like I needed to kind of embark on this, and this is something that I've always really thought of, or at least I knew I had a natural gift in, and I knew that it was the right time to do it, if not now, then when. And buying guitar in college, learning how to play, having a little stint with a band to kind of experience that was enough of a push for me to realize okay, I think I can audition for American Idol. Let me give it a shot. And I was lucky enough to audition and get an opportunity to sing in front of the live judges, which ultimately was and meet some amazing people. So that's kind of the long abbreviated version, but that's been it.
So you really turned a negative into a positive, and sometimes you have to start at the bottom to bring yourself back to the top. When you got to that low place, and you've been doing music for a couple years now, it sounds like you've been writing some original songs. I'm wondering if that pushed you more than ever before, if that really took your music to another level as you were sort of using that pain in your music.
Absolutely. I mean, I think when I did American Idol, I still felt like I had so much to prove and so much to learn. And I thought if I got through on the show that, the judges or the producers would at least see that. And I felt like I could really grow a little bit further, if I was given the opportunity. But when that was cut short, I felt like still my identity as an artist was like, or at least leading up to it, I felt like my identity as an artist and my confidence as a musician was pretty, low. And I was like, well, there's all these different people who know what they love to sing, and I love so many genres of music. But it wasn't until after I got let home that this discovery of songwriting really took off for me. And a lot of that was derived from just my experiences, right from what and I was still hurting so much. I wrote a lot about, my relationship or a lot of inspiration from that love, finding someone, finding your person, and kind of what I went through, at least internalized, that I felt most people could relate to. And it's so funny. I tried for a few years writing songs, and you want to write the best thing, but it's the moment where you least expect it. All of a sudden you start to believe really in what you're writing, and you start to it just kind of comes together. It's just kind of a magical moment. And had I not got sent home, I don't think I would have written the songs that I've written over the past year that I can't believe I've even written. And it's been a really cool discovery. So I really did take that whether it was before Idol or after Idol, like I really still took those difficulties and was able to really kind of transition it into music and finding my identity and finding my confidence as a musician. So that was a really cool opportunity. I don't think I would have ever got if I not tried out for Idol.
So it sounds like the show is a really essential part of your personal journey, because you had this sort of point A before the show, low point, what am I going to do next? And then you get on the show, and having been through all that and knowing that you're in an environment where people recognize your talent, people see you for what you're able to do, you leave that show and now it's like, okay, I can really do this because there are people telling me, hey, you've got it. Like, even if you don't make it to this round, you have the ability to go and write these songs, perform in these venues. And I'm guessing that, Idol again kind of served as that critical point in your journey.
Absolutely. That was the single biggest thing I've ever done when for music is audition for American Idol. And yeah, I definitely feel as though getting that opportunity and getting that golden ticket, that for me really solidified the fact that I am meant to be here and that I can do this. And that everybody has their own thing. There's people there that can sing through the roof and sing gymnastics. There's other people who have, an amazing songwriting capability and can shred on a guitar, but their voice might not be gymnastics, but there's something about it that makes people feel. I think from that, I was able to really kind of, take that in, understand my differences, my unique qualities of what makes me me. And that was the biggest thing is I figured out that I can make people feel something. And that's like the magic right there with music. That definitely gave me the confidence to kind of realize, okay, I do have something and I got this. Like, let's explore this a little bit more.
I feel like it's so important for people to remember, whether they are an artist or they have been on American Idol or they're thinking of trying out for American Idol, that as much as it's a competition and you might look at it as comparing yourself to the other people you're surrounded with, you have to stay true to who you are, and you can't try to be like whatever it is that you think they might be looking for, because there really isn't one type of winning artist. And, even if there is a typical person, like for example, country artists do very well on that show, or they might try to find kind of the typical pop star, but that doesn't mean that you should have to change what kind of voice you have, what kind of skills that you might have that are outside of your voice, like you said, guitar, whatever. I just think it's really crucial that an artist doesn't let go of who they are, because it's that very thing that makes them special.
To go off of that, I think for me, right, I've never done a television show. And, I have a background in video production, like smaller formed, so not a professional television show, but I think there's a couple things like going into something like that. I being 28 and having kind of experienced life a little bit, like I felt as though I didn't really have a lot of the anxieties that some of the other contestants might have had. You know, I think it's definitely had stress. Definitely was nervous to learn a song quickly and be able to make sure that I knew it and can express that in the most authentic way. That was probably the hardest thing. It's being able to quickly learn and adapt. But I think like overall, like I was lucky to be able to be a little bit older and to kind of, you know, not dive in or not like get carried away with some of the BS that can kind of come with going on a television show, and not putting anything on the production level down, but like just the stress of like feeling like you have to show up and being on camera, that can really make people feel uncomfortable. And it's really not for everybody. You know, I think I met a lot of people, you know, that really frightened them. And it was really, really difficult for them to kind of feel like they were staying true to themselves. And it's hard. It's really hard because you want to feel like you're being liked. You want to feel like people are, you know, that's reciprocated, and that, you know, you can kind of continue your journey, right? That's just part of being cooperative with the show. But I felt like I was able to kind of see the big picture and just really be able to like internalize that and not feel like I was really stressed out, because some of it was a little bit familiar, which I felt like I had a little bit of an edge, which was good. I really was like able to kind of be centered and to just stay calm, cool, collective, and just friggin' enjoy it.
For a show that's about musicians, you're going there as a musician, and it can be challenging when you have the lights and cameras around you because not everybody is built for this. You've got some people who love the attention. They think that being on TV is a dream come true just for the sake of getting noticed, not even taking into account getting their music noticed. But then it's like, you know, you might be someone who just absolutely loves performing, and yet the thought of a camera on you is absolutely terrifying. That's probably one of the challenges for some contestants is, you know, of course, producers want to see people with personality, and that's probably a big part of what goes into their decisions for who they're choosing when they're picking who do they air. But, you know, then it's like, okay, well, am I going to focus on my talent? Am I going to focus on making myself likable for the camera? There's a lot that goes into somebody's mind, and I think that you touched on that stress of who do I want to be when I walk onto this set.
You know, I kind of try to put myself like in their shoes of like, okay, I'm sure people might look at me and say, oh, well, this kid either knows what he's doing, or like, you know, this kid's got it all figured out, and you know whatnot. And I was just like, I'm actually kind of I've only scratched the surface. That was my whole story. It was like I went through this really difficult thing, and now I'm investing in myself, and you know, and I've only scratched the surface, and I think I have what it takes, and I'd love to try and see how far this can take me. You know, that was the truth. That was the true narrative of what I was kind of telling the producers and the judges too. And I think I felt really good, at least in my confidence, that was my story. That was totally real. And, you know, I didn't want to be like the heartbreak kid. I was like very weary of that, yeah. But maybe but that was the truth. I was totally heartbroken, and I was like, you know, really excited just to like invest in me and to try it. But yeah, there's so much to it. I mean, you know, like I've met some amazing people. Like Zia was probably my best day on the show. Her and I connected immediately. She was 19 from Montana. Her voice is insane. She's such a sweetheart and a sweet soul. Like she was so kind, and her and I just immediately connected. We kind of knew like, all right, there's these little subgroups of people, and I was probably hanging out with a band of misfit toys, like in the best way, because we were all so different and so unique, and yet we all connected, and like it was kind of felt like home, just all of us being together. And I think when you're embarking on a television show, like relationships are so key, and to feel like you're not alone. And I guess in a little way, like I felt like I could kind of support Zia and kind of help her through some of the difficulties and you know, that might have come, or just be able to kind of, you know, be that sense of calm, you know, even though I don't got my stuff figured out, but be able to kind of at least relay some of that so that people feel comfortable around me about the whole experience. And we're all artists and singers, like, you know, that emotional intelligence to just reach out, and even the vulnerability of sharing something that you've never shared before. Like that was scary, just to try and write stuff and share it. And you know, yeah, I think being able the relationships and being able to connect with people, that's like the real magic. And, you know, the people that I was able to meet and kind of help mentor in whatever way, not saying I knew all the answers, but just to support each other, like that was always felt throughout the whole experience, which was really cool.
I definitely want to dive into some of the specifics about your time on the show, the different rounds that you made it through. So to start off, which city did the producer send you to for the live auditions?
So I auditioned in Nashville, along with Cole, Zia, Paige, Sam Moss, Skylar was one of them. I flew down, and originally they wanted me to audition in LA, and the weekends conflicted, so I stuck with Nashville, and I felt like that was perfect because it's such an awesome city, and it's
Oh yeah.
the capital of country music and things like that. So I went down with my mom. My mom came with me. We're filming everything, getting all excited, trying to play it really cool. I'm like, Mom, stop. But we went down there, and, the first day you're meeting all these different people, and the whole experience, like, I don't think I realized when you get down there, right? Like, you're all in a line, you're walking over you stay at a hotel, and then the auditions are at a completely different location. But I didn't realize, like, how long the days would be. I mean, it is full out, like you're literally just waiting a whole day. You're hanging out in holding is what they call it, which is like a separate room. From the show, it was like parallel to the deck, and you're kind of waiting the whole time. You're kind of, they were calling people. All right, Danny, you're ready for social media. You're going to go down to the second floor. We're going to get some shots with you, and you're going to recite some stuff, and then you're going to go for your interview. You're going to do this. You're going to do this. But for me, I was never, I was probably one of the last people to ever do any of that. So I'm sitting there being like, all right, like, doesn't really feel like I'm getting any attention here. It's fine. Like, I'm kind of just going with it. Like, but eventually at the end, like, I probably auditioned, I think the third day. So I was number 25, and my audition, I got there at 6:00, and I didn't audition until like 7 at night. So I was one of like the last people to go. And I remember it. I was in the midst of an interview. As soon as I finished, I was connecting with one of the producers, and all of a sudden I hear someone in the back being like, all right, Dane Czerkawski, you're up. And I'm like, I mean, it was like everything locked in. My mom was with me. I'm walking to the elevator. I'm, literally warming up in the elevator. And it was such a cool feeling. It was definitely, I felt really prepared, thank goodness. But like, you have so much adrenaline, and it felt as though like I'm about to go on stage and about to perform for like, millions of people. Like it just felt really big. And, I get downstairs, they're strapping on, the microphone. I'm like, trying to sing and warm up. My mom's like right there behind me, like, all right, yeah, is everything all right? I'm like, yeah, I'm ready to go. And I step and I walk around, and I kind of just knew, like, holy smokes, this is everything you've ever seen on television. Like, this is what it's like. I walk in, and I'm like such a goober, like totally like just, I walk in, and it's an enormous room. I remember walking to the center, and I'm seeing these stars, and I'm like, holy shit, this is it. This is my moment of this is my moment, like this is crazy. Like everyone gets to listen to me for like a couple minutes. Like this is wild. I remember feeling so small, almost like a fisheye, like they were so far away. And, Katy Perry and Luke Bryan were like, how are you? Who are you? Where are you from? And, I'm like, I'm Danny Czerkawski, and I'm from, Massachusetts. And I started to share a little bit of my story, and I was kind of reluctant to be like I was engaged and got my heart broken, but I just said I got out of a relationship. I don't know if that would have made a difference, but Katy Perry's like, well, what you going through? And I'm like, well, start to open up, and I share a little bit, like, I've only really scratched the surface, and this has been something I've been looking to do for a long time, and I'm 28, if not now, like when? And like, all right, well, what song are you gonna sing? And I'm like, I'm gonna sing "Colors" by the Black Pumas. And I remember, I practiced this song a bunch of times. I even like worked with just like a vocal coach on like performance before, just to make sure I was like prepared. And I just remember locking it in and completely feeling as though like, oh God, I know this song front to back. And it just felt like I was performing. I wasn't thinking, I just did it. And in the midst of the audition, they brought like the 360 camera came down and they were going around me. And I kind of took that as a good sign, but I completely just like, lost it and in the music, which was the best part of music, right? I was able to lose it. I was able to not like get nervous. But I sang my song, that happened, I finished, and there's obviously a little bit of pause, and Luke Bryan's like, she goes, I like your vibe, you get a cool vibe, blah, blah, blah. And then Katy Perry recites one of the lyrics back at a super high note, and she goes, all right, go. And it was like, oh, my favorite colors. And she looked at me to sing, and I went, oh, my favorite colors. We did it twice. She did it again, and then she goes, then she did it back to me. And she goes, you got it. I didn't think you could sit. I didn't think you could get it, but you did it. And and then it went to like Lionel Richie, and he's like, man, I really, really like your voice. I really like you. If you're gonna do this thing, like you gotta throw in everything in the kitchen sink on this, because you don't have many chances left. Kind of playing at my age a little bit. And Luke Bryan said the same thing. He's like, man, like this is it, like But our consensus is you're going to Hollywood, and I only got to sing one song, which is I felt like that was a positive, and I had to sing a couple more. But that for me was like just. I could not believe it. I manifested. I felt like I knew I could definitely get a golden ticket. I would have been upset if I didn't, but like confidently, I was like, I know I can freaking do this. Like I think they're going to see me, and I'm walking out and I go through the wrong door, and I see my mom on the other side and hid the ticket behind my back, and my mom was freaking out. And it was just it was a magical moment. I mean, there's everything you've ever seen on television, and it's wild to sit there for a moment and be like, holy smokes, the three most talented people and arguably like just incredible musicians, incredible stars get to listen to Danny Czerkawski for a couple minutes. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. That might sound kind of silly, but they really get to see me. And I just was so friggin' excited after that. It was a really beautiful moment. Shared with my mom.
As I sit and I listen to this story, like, and I'm imagining it, and obviously seeing the set on TV, I can imagine the judges, I can imagine you sitting there, and it's like, it's all just so real, Like, I mean, you may not have known that you wanted to do this music thing your whole life, but once you did, you kind of grabbed onto it and you just stuck with it, and you found that passion. And I wish I could be there to hear the performance, because I can tell that it came through, And that's what they're looking for, is they're looking for the rawness, they're looking for the feeling. Obviously, you got to have vocal abilities, which you do because you're there at the live auditions. So at this point, of course, you're like, I got this, because you just know it in your heart. You're like, I'm here. Let's do this. Let's finish it,
Yeah, when you can express a song and make people feel like that, I realize like is the ultimate. That's all we're trying to do, and that's what resonates. And I was really lucky. I felt like my song choice was great. Tristan was another one who auditioned the same weekend, and his second song was my first song, and yes. I went before him, and I definitely gave a ton of passion in my song, but I felt like Tristan's second song might have, altered my opportunity of maybe getting seen. But I was so excited for Tristan because he was such an awesome kid who had so much to share. And I forgot, Tristan was one of those guys that was singing the whole weekend, but like there's moments of people who are like totally outgoing and you're like, oh my God, you guys are crazy. And he was awesome. Like everyone enjoyed his energy. He was so happy to be there. And like, it was the energy we needed, because I don't think if he wasn't there, I don't think no one would have filled that position. And it was cool to see like to him to get through and absolutely kill it and see how far he went with his whole journey. But it was cool. I was bummed that my song didn't get chosen. I don't know if that had anything to do with it, but I was so excited for at least for him to get the shot and to be able to be seen.
It's another example of how interesting it is to be around people of all ages because the kid's in high school. First of all, he looks like he's freaking 32 and he's there and he's providing you all with this energy. And it's like, wow, like, all this life experience, and not to say you can't have it when you're 16, 17, but, on the other hand, it's still
Yeah.
just wild that, that these kids are bringing so much life into this set.
Yeah. There's a lot of life. There's a lot of life. And yeah, Tristan was definitely like the best energy throughout. Throughout that whole experience. It was pretty fun.
So speaking of being on set and speaking of you having a job that sort of resembles what goes into the production of American Idol, I know it's different, but walking onto the set and knowing what you do for a living and seeing what they kind of do on a different level, what was that like to sort of have that edge of understanding the technology?
It felt familiar and new. I will say that. I think the coolest thing though, that is the crew, the producers, the people that kind of took care of us throughout that whole journey. Like everyone was so friggin' kind and cool and just totally like made you feel comfortable. I was impressed with just the operation of the whole thing because it was a lot. I mean, it's a huge investment and, all the producers who did all the organization of when you were going and all that, like all the behind the scenes, everyone was so awesome. They were fun. And, I think I didn't know what I was getting into. I didn't know what the day would be structured like. I'm kind of curious to like behind the scenes. And I think it was definitely super helpful to at least be familiar so I wasn't intimidating. But it was definitely impressive with the amount of crew. But everybody, they were so dialed. And it made at least an impression on me that it was like really controlled and it didn't feel like it was chaos. And you waited around a long time. That's fine. But like when you did get your shot in front of the camera, like even doing an interview, like I laugh at this because I'm usually behind the camera and I felt like an absolute goober when I got in front and I was like trying to tell my story because I felt like I was almost too like scripted in my mind. And I wasn't able until like later in the interview to like kind of let loose and let my personality kind of go. But I was like, oh yeah, like I know this. Like I'm sitting there like, how do I not be the kid to be like, hey, I do what you do. You know what I mean? Like they don't care at all. I had some cool conversations with some producers, but I felt like when I did my interview, I was like, shit. I feel like I'm literally giving a job interview right now. And I'm like super stern. Like I need to freaking relax here. Like take a chill pill, Danny. But it was funny. Like that was the only thing I laughed about. I'm like, dude, I give so many interviews. Like how the frick could I like not deliver my own interview like well enough? At least my mind. It was probably okay, but I was laughing my butt off with my mom. It was pretty cool to just see everything in action and everyone made you feel really comfortable. It was a lot of waiting around, but like the whole team, all the producers, at least the ones that I met, like were super down to earth. I only had one strange interaction with the producer and I think he was like a big executive. I was waiting in like a lobby area to like go do some like social media stuff. And, I meet this guy and I'm like, hey, how you doing? He goes, you nervous? I'm like, yeah, I'm feeling good. Definitely got some butterflies and whatnot. And he's like, where are you from? And I'm like, I'm from Boston. He just like looked at me like randomly and just goes, is that in the United States? I'm like, yeah, it's Boston, Massachusetts. Yeah. He goes, and he repeated it again. He goes, is that in the United States? And I'm like, yeah, like I don't know, like yeah, like I was just like it was such a weird power move. I was like, what is this guy trying to do? He's trying to make me feel like it was just so random. And he's like, all right, well, like, are you gonna be in the room? He's like, yeah, I'll be in the room. And you could tell like he was some like big producer like that. You only saw once. You know what I mean? But I felt like I was like, why the hell would he ask me such a random weird question and like try to like? I just laughed. I was like, oh my god, this is ridiculous.
Is he from the States or?
He was totally from the States.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Like he knew. Like I said, Boston, Massachusetts. I repeated, and he said, "Is that the United States?" I was like, "Yeah." What do you? I don't know what you're trying to do, bud. Like. Wow. Get out of here.
that is honestly hysterical. Well, it is funny also just, the fanciest equipment in the world that you could work with on a daily basis. If you've never starred on a TV show or been on a reality show, nothing could prepare you for being the person on camera. It's like, I think that kind of sums up what it was like to be the one getting interviewed, doing the B-roll. It's like, whoa, now that the tables have turned, this is not my day job.
Yeah, it was cool. I feel like I'm comfortable in front of the camera for sure. like I kind of grew up, like I was a kid that loved Jim Carrey and was super animated and was super like goofy. And like, that was my humor. And like, that was who I was as a kid, just like this kind of creative mind. Like one of the other things about me is like, I'm dyslexic. So school was always very hard for me. Like I couldn't read until like maybe it was in like sixth grade, like fluently. Like, so I always found humor and movies as like sort of an outlet, and music as an outlet. And I think it's kind of funny. Like I think naturally, like I have a very good creative mind. That's just like the way I am. But emotional intelligence and connecting with people, like it's definitely all wrapped together. Like I wasn't good at school, but I was the funny kid in class. So that's kind of like just more or less like personally, like what, kind of me growing up. And I always kind of had that chip on my shoulder and felt like, okay, like music was always the thing that I felt like I could at least do better than anyone else. Or, not saying I'm comparing myself, but just I felt like I had something different than most kids. And it was cool to like just try and like give it a shot with the show. And as far as my journey is concerned, I ended up getting a golden ticket. I was lucky enough. I went to Hollywood, and you're meeting all these other contestants from all over the country, which is even way cooler. And you see your familiar faces, and you have your people. And I felt like I felt like I was a little bit more stressed out leading up to that, because I felt like I didn't have enough prep time to like pick the song that I wanted. Like I knew the song that I was going to sing going down there, and the song that I did sing for my audition, I envisioned when I first heard it of me singing it for a show. I'm not even kidding. I literally was like, that's the song I'm going to sing. And I got to live that moment, which I thought was really cool. But when I went to Hollywood Week, I was like, shit, I go, what am I going to sing now? Like, I got to pick a genre. I got to have like 3 other songs. I got to be able to singing them is one thing. But do I want to play? Do I have enough confidence to play guitar? Do I want to do it in a company? Like, it was so much. That was where my stress came in after that. I was like, all right, I got through the first round. Like, but now I got to freaking keep this going. And I ended up singing a song, the day of my second audition. Once I made it to Hollywood Week, I sang my song, and I remember going up on stage, and Katy Perry was like distracted doing something. So I was kind of sitting there for like a little awkward moment. And I think like that kind of like got me. I was like, damn it. Like, at least the flow of like, getting up on stage and getting going was a little bit messed up. But I started singing, and, I kind of knew in my mind, I'm like, I don't think this is the song that's going to get me there. And like, I had like a little bit of a pitchy moment, and I was able to come back and just be like, well, you know what? Fuck it. Like, I'm literally in the middle of the Orpheum singing in LA. Like, I'm in front of this American Idol stage. Like, I remember looking up and just like, yeah, fuck it. Whatever happens. Like, at least I know it's not perfect, but I go, the only way that I'm going to get through is if like I'm likable enough and they want to give me a shot. I chose the soul genre, and I sang my song great. I was a little pitchy at the end, but I was like, damn it. Like, I should have done another song. Like, I felt like at least I had a second one I should have probably sang. And ultimately I went up on stage. I was with Sam. Her and I were like kind of hugging and like figuring this out. She's like, no, I think you're going to get through. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Like, I knew in my heart, I'm like, damn it, I don't think I'm gonna. And I didn't. And when I was walking down and that happened, like, I was like, shit, I was super disappointed, because I definitely knew I had the talent, and I definitely knew like I just needed like to get a shot, like just one more shot. But ultimately that was it for me. And I was definitely discouraged. I was bummed out. And, and you go home, right? All right, our next day, here's your flight information. See ya. And you're like, oh my God, this thing that I've been like, celebrating for like months, like all of a sudden comes to an end, and it's like abrupt. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I can only imagine how that feels once you actually make the show, or at least, able to get seen. And, that's a whole other thing. Like, you don't know if you're going to make airtime. And yet they tell you to promote it and get the word out because they want to have viewers. So it's tough, because you're like, do I want to set people up for not being able to see me? And like, there's a lot of people that tuned in, and lucky enough, I got a couple B-roll shots. So I wasn't completely, making people bummed out, but, I was bummed. I really wish at least my audition could be shared and could be seen, because I was really proud of that. And the exposure would have been awesome. But I will say the biggest takeaway is the discovery that kind of came to after it. being able to take that emotion, take what I was still kind of working through, probably around Christmas was like the second, like a really difficult time, first Christmas without your significant other. I just came off this high with American Idol and like trying to find my next path. And all of a sudden I was able to really step forward and I wrote the best, like my best, most proud music I ever have in like a very short time. And I was like, I've never done that before. That's crazy. Like, how did this happen? And if I didn't do American Idol and if I did not continue on, like I'm still so proud that I was able to channel that into my own creation and who I was as an artist and my confidence as a singer and musician. So that's what I gained from the whole American Idol experience, was just my identity and my confidence, for sure.
I think it was probably inspiring being around all those other musicians, and then it was encouraging knowing I'm up here with these musicians, meaning they're good, but I'm good too because we're all here. So again, part of why I think this show really pushed you to write that amazing music and will continue to be a push for you. And wherever this journey takes you, American Idol was a part of it, but as you keep going up and up and up, it's like one thing helps you get to the next thing. Everything in life, I feel like you have to remember where you were before as you keep going forward.
That's a great point. The journey never ends. It's only a small chapter, and you have to put yourself in those positions to jump out of your comfort zone and to try something. If you don't, that's where the material comes from to write from. That's those moments of discovery that happen when you least expect it. And yeah, I think being able to kind of give something a shot, even though you might have some internal, just doubt or whatnot, like you never know what's going to happen. You never know who you're going to meet, the people. And the people is the best part. Like I met Cole. I met Cole on my first audition weekend, but we never really had an opportunity to connect until we went to Hollywood Week. And I felt like we became like pretty decent buddies. And, I was calling him, while he was still in it, and, how far he went, what it's like all behind the scenes. And it was so awesome to like after a week you've been there, like to hear what's going on and hear his experience, as well as Zia's and Sam's. There's another guy that I met too. His name is Drew. He, another Nashville kid. He literally came in looking like a rock star, long hair, wearing like little to no clothes, and it's wicked freezing out too. And he was a really cool dude. He was like probably like he was probably like maybe a couple years younger than I was, maybe 25. And he worked as an audio engineer, and he had a connection with a previous person that was on the show. And he had an unbelievable voice. I mean, I think all of us were like, oh, he's definitely going to get there. Like, what's not to love? He's like an absolute star in the making, and he was a really nice dude. And he was another friend of mine during that experience that I really connected with. And he also was sent home on the first, first like round of Hollywood Week, and I think a lot of us were really like kind of surprised. And that's the best thing about this show. Like Elliot, another person that I met on the show, I think single-handedly, like what a unbelievable artist. His music resonates with so many people, and I think he was very well respected by a lot of people on the show. And that's the coolest thing, being able to like have some sort of a connection with all these artists. But yeah, Elliot, Drew, Zia, Sam, Grace was another friend of mine on the show. She's awesome, Berkeley student from, I believe, New York. Tyler. They were, just such good friends through the whole experience. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's amazing to see the talent that comes through there. A friend of mine that I became close with or connected with too was Olivia Faye. Mm-hmm. She's awesome, just human. She's so talented too. She was a country singer. She was so sweet. I hung out with her and her mom. They're like, you should come to Kentucky. Like, you want to fly down? Like, so welcoming, like the whole time. And her and I really connected because, we sang kind of a similar vibe. She sang country. I was like, country rock, and we loved the same music. And she was so like, you should come to Nashville. You should come down. And from that experience, I was like, how the hell can I leverage this and learn as much as I can from all these different people? Like Cole and I talk about the industry, or at least for like the last couple months, just about what he's up to and what we're thinking about of how we can get, seen. And, Olivia was one of those people that like, I call, she's like, give me a call. I called her up and she was telling me about Nashville. She was telling me about like what the industry's like down there, what her experience has been like, encouraging me to come move down there and come for a weekend and check it out and meet some of her network and friends and fam. And, that, you don't have to do that. There's a lot of people that like hold that stuff really close. And that really meant so much to me just to kind of hear and kind of, be given that insight and advice and counsel. So, yeah, I think the connection and encouragement and helping people out is definitely, there's been a lot of cool opportunities from that.
In such a short period of time. I mean, it especially once you get to Hollywood Week, that zooms by. I mean, obviously only making it through one round, but even so, that one round where they're cutting at least half of the people, and you're all probably in such shock at the people that are going home, because it's unfortunate that really, the judges are having to make kind of a very quick, literally a judgment call, because they get a chance to see 150 plus people. They've got to decide, okay, we're seeing you sing for a minute, all right, and it's not always enough to really see the full artist. And I think that's what's so tough, is that there's certain people where you're like, wow, like if they did a whole set, you probably would reconsider.
And that's the thing, at the end of the day, you do need to realize that it's a television show, and that decisions or whatever you make, some of it's out of your control, and it doesn't mean that you're not a talented artist. That's the biggest thing, is you've got to level head with that and be like, all right, it's a television show. Like, there's a lot of things to it. It's being able to connect with America. It's being able to be likable. It's being able to, obviously have a great voice, but there's the different characters that they want to kind of at least showcase. And it's an investment, there's a lot probably more behind the scenes than we even know. But I think at the end of the day, for the ones that have gotten as far as they did, or even made it, even further than most, like, to be able to be a part of it is awesome. And it's something like I'll definitely personally cherish for a while.
Yeah. Just like a really random question, because it's kind of irrelevant, but I'm also curious. Well, relevant, but what song did you sing in the genre challenge? Because I know that we talked about that.
Oh, yeah. I think it was Stand By Me. Yeah, Stand By Me. Oh, darling, darling, stand by me. Yeah. That, I'm like trying to sing it in my head right now. I'm like, yeah, that's the song I sang.
Also, did you do any of the workshop or the mentoring with the Idol alumni?
Yeah. It was funny. Like I definitely chose, if I were to do it again, like, so I chose to sing the soul genre. I thought that I could kind of stick out, and there's a lot of talent, so it's a really competitive genre, and that's kind of how they make their decisions. And I remember Drew being like, hey, man, like, I goes, I'm singing in like the folk because there's going to be less people there. And I'm like, oh, really? I didn't even think about like the competition aspect of the show. But I will say, like, yeah, I have all these little breakout groups, and we're meeting, Haley Reinhardt? She came in, and that was awesome. She was talking with us, hanging out with us, just sharing her perspective. That was really wild to see all these famous people that you've grown up idolizing. And Jordan Sparks, she came in, she's such a normal human being. Like you see this star in front of you, but you're like, oh my God, like I can totally, like, you are just a normal freaking person. You know what I mean? Like, you're human. That's cool. And she was so down to earth. I got a photo with her. I got to chat with her really briefly, not too long, but you kind of get a sense, you're like, oh my God, like all these people that have been on the show, and if it's had success, like, they're just like me. You know what I mean? Like, they're just like us. They were living this one day, which is pretty cool. And Haley Reinhardt, I mean, she was super. Her voice is insane, and she felt like a star. She came up, and we're all like hanging out with her, and like I kind of had to like put two together. I'm like, oh my God, this is Haley Reinhardt. That's right. Holy smokes, this is incredible. Like, this is so wild that she gets to like talk with us for a little bit. I didn't ask her any questions, but I was just kind of like sitting on the outskirts, just like, glad he was there. But it was cool. It was really cool.
And I mean, all these people, not only do they show you that they can still remain normal and humble, but like they were in your shoes all those years ago. They walked into that audition room saying, oh my gosh, am I Can I do this? Am I good enough for this? Can I win this show? And like they were there, so I just think that must have been such a cool
It's
experience.
really cool. It definitely puts you at like a sense of ease of like, oh my gosh,
Right.
like this is really we're in the club. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like we're in the club. Like it was cool. It was really cool.
Well, that's what it is. Is it's like even though the viewers at home don't get to see everybody that is on this show, you are a part of that family, and no matter how far you go or if you even make it to air, everybody that's on American Idol understands what it's like to be on American Idol, whether you won the thing or you only made it past Hollywood Week. Because those people that maybe even though they won the show and people got to see them, they did the exact same thing that you're doing right now. So that's just cool to think about, I think.
Yeah, that's a really, really great point, Bennett.
Now, I know that you have a guitar with you, and so it's not totally putting you on the spot. We talked about it before, but I'm dying to hear you sing, man, and I want to know like what you're
Yeah.
thinking about, what you might want to play for us.
There's definitely two songs. I feel like songwriting for me in general, I was trying to kind of soul search of like what is my sound and what do I like to play. And I really am drawn to this kind of soul, rock, blues sort of sound. And I kind of I was able to really kind of really find it, really find it. And there's two songs that I have. The first one it's called Hell or High Water. It's sort of a story about kind of my relationship. And the songs that I've been writing are very much about, kind of derived from my own kind of journey. And this song was more or less about kind of our commitment together and how that kind of fell apart. And it's called Hell or High Water.
All right.
Let me know if you can hear it.
All good.
There we go. Come away with me. Shall we take the road less traveled? Oh, let's pave the way, create the love that the dreamers dream. And all the highs and lows, tic-tac-toe, it's your move in this foolish game. Feeling in my bones, don't you know I'm tearing out the seams. Come hell or high water, and death do us part. Come hell or high water, and death do us part. Was it meant to be a life full and happy? And oh, is this a dream? 'Cause I woke up just in time to see you leave. And oh, the highs and lows in tic-tac-toe, it's your move in this foolish game. Don't you know I'm tearing out the seams? Come hell or high water, and death do us part. Come hell or high water, and death do us part. You sold my heart up and locked it up shut. It was too much. Tell me now, 'cause you had enough. Come hell or high water, and death do us part.
Wow. I really felt like I escaped into that world that you were depicting. I mean, first of all, I want to thank you for just being so real and honest, not only in the conversation about your story, but then sharing that song, because the lyrics were so true to who you are and you just held nothing back. And I mean, the feeling of heartbreak, which I was getting flashbacks in my mind to situations in my life where, you know, it's like hard to find yourself after the person that you know within yourself is a person that's with someone else. And then all of a sudden you have to sort of pick up those pieces and you're like, who am I without them? And I know it's kind of like I'm saying that. It's like, well, no shit. You just said that. Why am I saying it? But that's how I felt listening to it, because, you know, like we're all people who want to be around other people. And when we find our person and then we don't have that person, we can't just get up and move forward without thinking back to everything that they were, you know?
Yeah, no, thanks so much, Ben. And I really appreciate you, offering to listen. And, yeah, I'm writing from the space that I feel like most people can relate to, hopefully. That was finding that and kind of discovering that after Idol was really amazing. This other song that I have, which I'd love to share with you.
Yes.
It's another one that I'm really proud of, but it's a little bit more hopeful. And, that kind of, this next song kind of encompasses, the hope around finding love again. And the upswing when you're starting to find that clarity. It's a song that kind of depicts the hope of finding love again. It's a little bit more positive.
Cool.
It has been a long road, windows down, a 93. Things are looking up, but the one thing that's missing should be next to me. And I got my favorite playlist on, and it's shuffling, searching for the one song that can win my heart. Oh, know you're out there someday. I can't deny, never felt more alive. Listen to me, listen to me, listen to me close. Everybody's searching for the one to call the love. Letting go, letting go, letting go the past. Though it hurts, I can't wait for a new start. You're not far. Feeling that summer breeze windows down and saying free. Beside a yellow Jeep, sudden glimpse of her smile, felt her energy. the smile in her eyes was enough to take me. Split second of love, she drove off and on, faster than my heartbeat. I can't deny, never felt more alive. Listen to me, listen to me, listen to me close. Everybody searching for the one to call their love. Letting go, letting go, letting go the past. Though it hurts, I can't wait for a new start. Oh, you're not far. So sit back, foot on the gas, turn the music on the track, keep cruising, you'll free your mind. Listen to me, listen to me, listen to me close. Everybody searching for the one to call in love. Letting go, letting go, letting go the past. Though it hurts, I can't wait for a new start. You're not far.
Wow. You really just took me on a ride from the downhill to the uphill, the yin and yang of those two songs, because I know they were very different, but I felt everything you were feeling in both of them.
First off, man, thank you so much for letting me share my story and letting me play a song. It's funny. This has all been stuff that's been kind of held in, and I haven't really shared much of it. I've been trying to kind of record. I'm actually been playing out as far as some of my goals that I've been trying to do since I came back from Idol, and I've been sharing a lot of my own music, and it's been really exciting. And so for the moments of somebody able to kind of share their own experience of how a song that I've written might reflect on them, like that means a lot, and it's really cool because there hasn't been that much yet. So I'm playing at my first show on August 25th with a full band. We're covering these songs, so it's pretty cool.
I appreciate you, Danny. I appreciate the vulnerability. I appreciate the honesty, and I just appreciate your time because it's so interesting to get to know all of you as individuals, because I just love that feeling of never knowing who I'm going to meet and what story this person is going to have. Because, whether there are stories of sadness, there also comes with that stories of triumph, and there's mixes of everything in our lives, right? I mean, we go through the ups and downs, and getting to hear about everything from you, whether it is American Idol itself or what you've been through in your life, I just feel honored that I got to sort of offer a platform for other people to hear that. 'Cause, I thoroughly enjoyed getting to know you.
Oh, Bennett, thank you so much. It really means a lot. This whole idea of being able to share and meet, the amazing talent that sometimes doesn't get to be seen and expressed is such an awesome just outlet to be able to do that in yourself, be able to be a really big supporter of Idol and be able to connect with all this amazing talent and sharing these stories. It really helps. And it's appreciated by, I know, every single person that's been able to, be a part of the show. So thank you, my friend. I appreciate it. You never know. Did you think you'd be doing this like a year ago? Like, this is pretty cool to be able to follow your passion and to be able to be this far in your journey. So,
No, man, I think I've probably done it 5 or 6 times now, but I think I'll give another shout out to Elliot Greer. He's the reason I started this podcast. I heard him sing on Instagram, and I thought I want to do interviews with people that weren't shown on American Idol. If it weren't for that guy, we wouldn't be sitting here right now. And then I got to meet so many others just like him who have just blown me away with their talent.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool. Bennett, thank you so much. I appreciate you letting me be a part of the podcast and sharing my story.
Absolutely. Well, Danny, before I let you go, if you want to plug your socials or streaming or anything online that people can go to, please take it away.
Yeah, if so for any listeners out there, if you guys want to follow along in my musical journey, my last name is Czerkawski, and it's long, so it's CZERKAWSKI. If you type in Danny CZ online, my name will come up. Throw a follow, I'll follow you back. I'm on Facebook as well, and on recently TikTok.
Cool.
So yeah, it's. I'm playing in Boston. I'm going to be putting out an EP at some point with my new songs and doing some live sessions with my music and other collaborators. So if you want to follow me on Instagram at Czerkawski, and I appreciate all the support.
Very cool. Well, Danny, thank you so much for being on the show, guys. If you want to follow us on Instagram or TikTok, you can do so at Unaired Podcast. Make sure to subscribe, rate, leave a review. If you're listening, you can also watch the interviews on YouTube. Just type in American Idol Unaired. Thank you guys so much. Have an amazing day. And Danny, thank you so much for being a part of American Idol Unaired.
Thanks so much, Bennett. I really appreciate everything. Thanks for having me.